TLC, do yourself and all your fans a favor. Stop negotiating with terrorists. Hi, I'm James and this is my take on reality. There's a lot of talk about Jibri's actions during the tell-all last week. And a lot of us are saying that, oh, Jibri acted badly and I can't believe he got up and walked out and he did all this and he did all that. The problem is, Jibri's actions have just been the result of what's been going on in the TLC ecosphere for a long time. There's been a lot of stars or cast members, I kind of hesitate to call them stars, but there's a lot of cast members who will automatically get up as soon as they don't hear something they like and storm off the stage, or they'll walk out if somebody comes out and they don't approve of that person, so on and so forth. Today we're going to kind of explore what's going on with TLC and these tell-alls and why these tell-alls are so bad recently. Let's get it. Truth be told, many of us enjoy watching these stories unfold. We like to see how people's lives develop and how these relationships come together. People getting married, people not getting married. More importantly, we really like talking about why these relationships are failing, why they're not working, and pretty much why everybody's acting like a maniac on television. By calling them stars and regarding them as stars, you're starting to turn a lot of these cast members into prima donnas, where they believe that they can make demands on not only the cast and the crew, but on the producers and on how the show is going to be depicted, who's going to be on the show, what members are going to be interviewed, whether this person can be talked to, what they're going to talk about, and you start to give them so much power that now all of a sudden the only stories you can tell are stories that put them in a positive light. And let's keep the secret for real. When push comes down to shove, reality shows are basically the byproduct of what used to be known as the talk show. On the talk show, you would have somebody go through something, they would come onto the talk show, and they would basically describe what it is they went through in their life. From that point, everybody in the audience would develop opinions, and they would have an opinion on what they saw, what happened, why it happened, and what they could have did better, etc., etc., etc. So now, what reality shows have done is they've taken the instances of bad behavior from the past and they put them in present so that the audience can actually watch the bad behavior happening and they can see it unfold and what actually happened, and they catch it on tape, and then everybody gets to develop their opinions and talk about what happened, what could have been different, who messed up, why they messed up, and why the situation is the situation. When you cast them as these stars and they become prima donnas, now all of a sudden no prima donna and no star wants to have bad reporting or themselves depicted in a newspaper or on a television show in a bad light. Now all of a sudden, every time that they appear somewhere, they want to have the most positive reporting as possible. And that's what you have with a lot of these people. They go on these reality shows and don't want to look bad. Just like if you went on a talk show, hey, I'm going to go on Maury Povich and try to figure out whether I fathered 15 kids with 15 different women. And then when Maury starts reading off that I've been a deadbeat for not only the 15 kids that are on the stage, but I got another 6 kids back home, and they bring them out and surprise, we got a DNA test on all them too, and these are more your kids, deadbeat. And then I say, I don't want to film now because I look bad. And I walk off. That's basically the environment that TLC is not only cultivating, but they're rewarding. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Here's the thing about running away or walking out. Jibri isn't the first person to get up and walk out. Here's an example of Jibri walking out.
Honest about it. Ooh.
Yeah, man, that's some bull.
Where's Jibri going?
There was also the time where you had a young lady named Amira who was dating a guy from California named Andrew. He was a little controlling, not a little controlling, he was a maniac. And she refused to film with him. The production team agreed with her and said, for whatever reason, we won't have her on the show. We won't put you guys on the show at the same time. Now, there has to be a lot going on, just as a subtle note. There has to be a lot going on for TLC to decide that they're not going to put a cast member in a precarious situation and make them feel uncomfortable. If you have a guy who is out on bail for brutally assaulting his girlfriend and they have no problem filming him, what the hell did Andrew do that when Amira said, I do not want you to even be on the tape with him? They said, no, we can't put you on the thing, player. Let's watch it.
So we're gonna have to ask you to leave for the segment.
But that makes no sense.
Just don't show me on the camera. I'm gonna go home, guys. This is not acceptable to me.
I'm out, dude. Like, I want my ride.
Then you had the Happily Ever After season 6, where everybody was walking out of this show. First, it started with Larissa, who had heard something that she didn't like from Colt. Let's run that.
They stop to offend me, I can come back with my boyfriend.
Then you had Colt come right back because Larissa was sitting there with her now boyfriend, and Colt didn't like it. So this is Colt's reaction.
It's very nice.
You want me in there? Can simple as that.
Then on that same show, that same tell-all, you had a young lady who was dating a gentleman by the name of Jay. Her name was Ashley, and this was her reaction when she heard something she didn't like.
You guys are ridiculous. I'm done. I'm done with today.
Now, in all these cases, as soon as I saw Colt make that threat and everybody started to appease to him, because when he made that threat, they told Larissa and her boyfriend that he couldn't be on the camera anymore. And then Larissa hung up and all that stuff. And Colt basically got what he wanted. When they gave in to him, I knew at that moment this is going to be a problem moving forward. And it's been a problem. Angela, when she was on last time, she was on the show, I think it was 90 Day Fiance, she got up and she walked out. It's constant now. It's not even like when I watch the tell-alls, it's at the point now where it's not a question of who's going to walk out. It's a question of when are they going to walk out. One of the biggest problems is that you cannot have the people who are on the show making content demands. Let's be honest. Anytime you watch a documentary and it's basically an autobiography, somebody produces their own documentary, that documentary sucks. Why does it suck? Because they're not going to tell you all the stuff that they did wrong. They're only going to tell you the stuff that was done to them or how they overcame all their adversity. They're not going to tell you about how they caused the adversity. So when you make somebody wait, and all of a sudden your 5-minute storm out and your temper tantrum could cost them another hour. Could cost them 2 hours, and it pushes everything back. Maybe they have a plan for a surprise engagement. They're going to bring another surprise guest out, or they're going to have this, or they're going to have that, or maybe, Jibri was going to be able to do a music number. Who knows? But all that gets pushed back and maybe even gets canceled because all of a sudden one of the cast members throws a temper tantrum. And this is production time that's wasted. And it hurts not only the cohesion of the show, but it hurts the cast and the other cast members, it hurts the crew, and it can hurt the bottom line for TLC, which is why I'm kind of curious as to why they allowed this to happen and have allowed it to go on for so long. One of the things that I think that they could use to try to rectify this entire situation is the contract enforcement. If you contract, because there is a contract, you can't tell me that these guys are just shooting this for fun and they just handing them checks. There is a contract. When you go sign up for these reality shows, your life is no longer your own because your life is part of their storyline. That's what they're paying you for. That's what the contract is for. That's what the show is about. And I don't understand how they get to the tell-all and then all of a sudden they forget that they have these codicils in place where you could say to them, look, you signed up for this show. We spent X amount of dollars to film you throughout this season. Now we're spending X amount of dollars to do the tell-all. And now you're refusing to participate in the tell-all, which means that we wasted all this money. So here's the deal, homeboy. If you walk out now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you a bill. We're going to bill you for all the time that we had shot during the season, and you get to pay 25% of it. And I guarantee you, nobody will walk out of a tell-all after that. Let's talk about what I think the business plan is. I think part of the reason why TLC has been tolerating a lot of this misbehavior is because ultimately it's part of their business plan. They're trying to cultivate relationships with a lot of these reality stars and cast members so that they can incorporate them in other programs and platforms that the show, or more to the point, the channel is trying to roll out. For instance, 90 Day Fiance, I can't keep up with all the different offshoots and spinoffs of the 90 Day Fiance franchise. Let's just run it. You got 90 Day the original, you got 90 Day Happily Ever After, you got 90 Day the Other Way, you got 90 Day Caribbean, you got 90 Day UK, and then season after season after season, and they keep recycling the same people and bringing the same people back. So I think that at the end of the day, part of the reason why they don't want to have these arguments with these folks is because if they have these disagreements and these arguments with them, then they won't be able to include them in the shows that they plan on doing later. So if you have an argument with somebody from 90 days before the 90 days, then when they're ready to get married, they might not come back for 90 days. And if you have an argument with them on the 90 Day Tell All, they might not come back for the Happily Ever After season. And so what happens is TLC is boxing themselves in, and they're putting themselves at the mercy of these prima donnas. And I think that that's a mistake. And eventually, I think that it's going to cause a downfall of this entire series. They have to start tightening it up, and they have to insist that the participants, even though the rest of their lives are a complete mess, and I think anybody who's ever watched the 90 Day Fiance season would agree that most of these people are on the show because your life is a mess, which gives you a clue that if you are ever going to marry somebody and there's a reality show and you put an application and the producers call you back, and not only do they call you back, but they invite you in and say, we would love to have you on our show, you need to take a step back and start evaluating your relationship, because obviously they see some kind of weakness in your relationship, because they don't put on shows and they don't put on couples who have a happy relationship. They put on disasters. Those are the people that get to be on their show. And everybody, like, you look, there's a couple people who are actually happily married. Thinking of Alexi and Lauren. They're happily married. They're having kids. You don't see them on none of the 90 Day stuff. Family Chantel. Disaster waiting to happen. Yeah, it's funny how they got divorced. That's how you know that you're in trouble. You're about to get divorced. Be on the show by yourself. And that's my take. I'm James. If you guys are getting anything from the channel, you find it informative, funny, whatever the case may be, please consider subscribing. This is my take on reality, and I'm out.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCA.